Welcome to Scriptural Focus. I'm Jack Wilkie. Grab your Bible, let's dig in. Welcome back to Scriptural Focus. This is episode 9. This week we're looking at one on matters of the church, interpersonal relationships. In fact, we're just coming off of a string of Think Deeper episodes where we went into that, but this one is a little bit different. I think it's a very interesting one and one I've spent a lot of time thinking about. I'm kind of writing about it right now, and so it's been good to think more on, and I'm going to share some thoughts in regard to it that hopefully will be a help. Sissy asks, how to handle fellow Christians that do not do their part in the church? Do we approach them, call them out, or just keep working harder and pick up their slack? I think in the meantime, it is working harder and picking up their slack because there's not overnight change. However, on the other hand, there does have to be some expectation. There does, because I've talked about a million times the 80-20 principle, the idea that most of the work of the church is done by a small minority. 20% does 80% of the work and vice versa. 80% do 20%, and that is a common thing in every organization. But when you look at Ephesians 4, that we're a body and it's what every joint supplies, when you look at 1 Corinthians 12, of the body can't say to any of its parts, I don't really need you. We do need everybody. The church is not supposed to be an 80-20 where most of the people are coasting and consumers. And so this question is a very relevant one. I think every church is dealing with that dynamic of hyperactive serving Christians and consuming Christians. So what do you do with a consuming Christian? What do you do with somebody who just won't step up to the plate, who, when the opportunity for volunteering is there, won't raise their hand? Well, they'll just wait and let somebody else do it, and they'll reap all the benefits of the involvement of the church, but can't really be caught involving themselves, stepping up and taking anything on. I think one is patience with each other, long-suffering, loving one another, assuming the best of each other. Some people don't do it just because they don't know. And if they don't know, how are they going to know unless they're asked, they're told, they're given an assignment? But the real challenge in all of this is the hierarchy, leadership, authority dynamic in the church. When you look at this idea of confronting Christians who aren't pulling their weight, you start to be drawn towards Timothy and Titus and those what are called the Pastoral Epistles. We might not use that term because we don't consider them to be pastors, but whatever you want to call those 3 letters of Paul telling these young men, ministers, kind of how to whip the church into shape, how to make these things happen, how to engage people in the work of the church, how to help them step up in their personal holiness and everything they're supposed to do, and to call out things that the church doesn't need to be focusing on, what they do need to be focusing on. And part of that was for Timothy and Titus to do it themselves. Another part of it was appoint elders so that they can help in this, so that they can rebuke and reprove and exhort, and these terms that are exactly to what is being said here. That's what those terms mean. Is exhort is, all right, let's go. Come on, let's get to work. Reprove is, you're a little bit off on that. Let's course correct a little bit. Rebuke is, you're going the wrong direction and you need to stop. Well, we need people in place who can do that. The question is, who gets to do that? Number one, again, preachers and elders are given that authority and they need to exercise it. Now, we're at a time, as we talked about on the Think Deeper episode, the church's leadership crisis. A whole lot of churches don't have elders. We're in a place where there is a leadership crisis. And a lot of the churches that don't have elders don't even have people that the consensus of the members would look to and think, well, we'll listen to that guy. We will follow that person's lead. That person is somebody who I will listen to, take criticism from. It's very much the book of Judges. Everyone does what's right in their own eyes. And so it is what I call choose your own adventure Christianity. I'll come into the church. If I want to do something, if I want to be involved in something, I will. And if I don't, well, somebody else will handle that. And so those unglamorous jobs, the jobs that we don't want to take, we'll just sit back and let somebody else do it. And so we need to start developing that authority, start building that credibility. And one of the ways to build credibility is becoming one of those people. Whether that means you can be an elder or not. If you're a woman, of course, you can't become an elder. Some men can't ever become an elder. But it is being the kind of person who is involved in people's lives, praying with them, serving them. As Jesus said, if the one who's going to be your leader needs to become your servant. He said, I didn't come to serve or to be served, but to serve, Mark 10:45. And so become a servant to these people. Really invest in their lives and the lives of all the people so you can develop the credibility. Credibility doesn't happen overnight. Credibility doesn't come from saying, from being right, even though you might be right. Credibility and the ability to call out, the ability to push for more comes from showing up. There is no replacement for being that person who is involved in other people's lives, who they know you care about them, they know you're sound, they know that you know the word, they know that your concern is for the holiness of the church, the love of the church, the love of the brethren. And as you start to build that, and as a church has those people emerge that people look to and think, that's somebody who has this church's interest in heart, that's the person who can call people out. Having said that, there are going to be certain people that when challenged or confronted, are going to take their ball and go home. That when they're pushed to do more, they're going to say, I shouldn't have to, I don't need to, I don't have to put up with this, I'm going on to the next church. That's a sad situation. It's not what we want to have happen. It's going to happen sometimes. We have to be okay with that. That's one of the hardest things about this, and man, I've had people get very mad at me for saying, it's okay when certain people walk out the door. We will try to bring them back, but if they will not play by the rules, you've got to protect the purity of the church, and this is part of it, is being okay with that. And all of this is a very long process. All of this is something that takes investment in our relationships, in leadership, in all of these things that I've just talked about. And so don't expect overnight. But the other thing I would say is pray for them. Before trying to do anything for or with them or get them to do anything, spend a long time in prayer for them. Add them to your regular prayer list, because that's very, very important that you would pray for them, pray for your attitude towards them, pray for God to open their heart, pray for God to open our hearts and eyes to see what needs to be seen so that we can handle this accurately. It is a difficult situation. There's no clear right answer, but it is one that might unfold more and more as time goes by. And so a great question. As always, keep them coming. Leave your questions, your feedback, your additional input in the comments, and we'll talk to you next week on Scriptural Focus.